Welcome everyone to the official Horror Host Hall of Fame.
Yo! That's right.
First of all, we'd like to say thanks as always to Horror Hound for being our convention home for over a decade. It's been a long time since the Hall of Fame has been in Indiana, and we are glad to be back. Today is a celebration, but we want to start on a somber note by remembering one of Indiana's own horror hosts, an inductee into the 2022 Horror Host Hall of Fame, Rigor Mortis, who passed away last month. So let's take some time and honor that. All right, that's my cue. And now it's time to meet this year's Horror Host Hall of Fame class. Our first inductee is a television legend.
Tonight's story on the Twilight Zone is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction. This, as you may recognize, is a map of the United States, and there's a little town there called Peaksville. On a given morning not too long ago, the rest of the world disappeared, and Peaksville was left all alone. Its inhabitants were never sure whether the world was destroyed and only Peaksville left untouched, or whether the village had somehow been taken away. They were, on the other hand, sure of one thing, the cause. A monster had arrived in the village. Just by using his mind, he took away the automobiles, the electricity, the machines, because they displeased him. And he moved an entire community back into the Dark Ages, just by using his mind.
There is a fifth dimension, a dimension of sight, a dimension of sound, a dimension of mind. You're moving through a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Horror Host Zone. I'm your horror host, Mr. Lobo, of Cinema Insomnia, and it's hard to believe that Rod Serling, the man himself, has not yet been inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. And I thought about this, and you know, a lot of people have a different definition of what a horror host is. To some people, a horror host is just a newscaster with a bad Dracula cape, showing a late night horror movie on a local television station. When people ask me what a horror host is, they say, well, you know, how do I become a horror host? Or what do you need to do to be a horror host? And my answer is always host horror. And did Rod Serling host horror? Well, certainly on the Night Gallery he did. The Night Gallery was 100% horror. And Rod Serling is really spooky, you know? It was in those days when the cigarettes were really taking their toll. And you could smell the cigarette smoke through the screen, and it was really kind of like the scraggly and showing you this painting, and we go into he was really creepy, I felt, on the Night Gallery. The Night Gallery was almost too much. It was always watching it through your fingers. It's scary. You know, and I would say, even though the Twilight Zone is not strictly horror, you know, it's the realm of the imagination. They did all sorts of stories on the Twilight Zone. I think the Twilight Zone was the gold standard of all horror anthologies that happened afterwards. So, you know, I think Rod Serling is the definitive spectral narrator. This is a person from another dimension. This is the ultimate outsider. You can't imagine him taking his kids to soccer practice or having a beer with Rod Serling. He just appears out of the void and talks to you and knows everything about you. But he was a storyteller, you know, as well as a companion. And I think that that's probably one of the things that made Rod Serling so special. And he gave mystery to everything he talked about, you know. There was always this creepy sense of mystery to everything. The ways that he talked about everything. My wife and I were noticing Rod Serling's posture. And there's a couple of shocked pictures of him, and we noticed that he always has this bracelet on. You know, we couldn't figure out what it was. And we noticed that what we thought was a scarab, we couldn't quite figure out, is this Rod Serling's magic bracelet that he gets his power from? And we did all this research and, you know, dug to the bottom of the internet, and finally we found an article written by his daughter talking about him waving goodbye to her and his paratrooper bracelet showing. And so that thing we thought was a scarab was actually a parachute. And so, you know, he always wore that. And if you think about how many of his stories incorporated flight, you know, and war, you know, and I feel like that whatever horrors he had to face during the war, you know, I think that that was his constant little good luck charm, a little reminder, and why we always see him holding it when he is unleashing some of those horrific ideas back out at us. But, you know, incredible man, incredible heart. You know, he wrote about the issues of the day. You know, he wrote about injustice. He wrote about equality. You know, he always tried to lift the veil on humanity and, you know, always kind of punished us for our bad thoughts and our bad ideas and our selfish opinions, you know, in his stories. So there was a morality to his stories, which he was criticized a lot for. But, you know, he wrote from his heart, you know. He wasn't trying to please sponsors or placate special interests. He really believed those things. And he wrote those stories, and he felt that those stories might make the world a better place. And I think that his stories did make the world a better place. It certainly made my world a better place. And certainly it probably affected and touched the Twilight Zone. My gosh, how many people has that touched? So it gives me a great pleasure to induct one of my all-time favorite hosts of horror, Rod Serling, into the 2023 Horror Host Hall of Fame. And as for the rest of you, I will induct you back into the Twilight Zone.
I'm accepting on behalf of Rod Serling and his family. Okay, on to our next inductee is Baron Damon.
And now a little poem from the Transylvanian poem. Jack Sprat beneath no fat, his wife beneath no lean. So betwixt them both they starve to death and turn the sickly green.
And inducting Baron is the one and only Bobby Gammonster.
I'm a little slow, I'll get there. We'll finish this slide shuffle and look at this bridge. All right, wow, it's great to be here in Indiana, and first time here, and you know, I see quite a few people here, and I was thinking while I was sitting there, this is off my script, don't worry, I won't go too long, but you think about quantity and quality, and you know, we could have this whole thing filled with people, and that would be quantity. But we got quality, because when you get the people that you got here, it's like being on our shows, our fans. We may not have millions of quantity fans, but the fans that we do have are quality, and you guys are quality. Well, my dear friends, greetings. I am Bobby Gammonster of Monster Movie Night, and it is my honor to speak to you about a great man and horror host. Baron Daemon was a vampire with bushy eyebrows. He wore a cape, bow tie, and would host spooky movies at night and cartoons during the day. I'll pick that up later. He was very silly, but aren't we all? And yet, at times, had a touch of sinister to him when hosting the films late in the evening. Aren't we all? He was well loved by adults and kids as he drew them into his antics and allowed them into his weird world of fun. The Saturday Hollywood Special was a hosted horror movie show with Mike Price as Baron Daemon, Dennis Calkins as Very Harry, and Bill Adie as Boris. Boris. You know, you always have to have a good co-host or lucky right-hand man, or bird as it is, named Boris. Boris is at my table anyway if you want to see him a little later on. They screened between 1962 to 1967 on WNYS-TV, Channel 9, Syracuse, New York. Baron Daemon started out as a late-night horror host, but became an icon. Shortly after the airing of this late-night show, and as his popularity grew, letters started coming in from parents complaining that they couldn't get their children to bed because they would stay up watching the show. How many of you have done that with your favorite host? Yeah. The station began an evening kids show because of that. It was called The Baron and His Buddies, and it soon became one of the highest watched shows in Syracuse. The popularity of Baron Daemon grew tremendously, so much so that he put out a 45 RPM record called The Transylvania Twist. It was only distributed in the Syracuse area, but can still be heard on radio stations around Halloween. Something to think about. The Baron would show up at local sock hops and pretend to bite the girls by using a red felt tip pen to make 2 marks on their throat. And then he would ask them to come out and kind of wiggle around like there's woozy. He also did a show at a local asylum where he and his co-host yelled out the window at people coming in, begging them to let them out. Could you imagine? Mike Price is the man behind the Baron Daemon character, and he would be a staple on the news for Channel 9 before and after his horror host days. As Mr. Lobo said, a lot of the hosts back then were news people, but that's cool. He was a reporter that had his own segment on the evening news called Good News. It would feature people from around the area that were doing good things. He would also talk to kids who were doing well in school. Such a nice man. Mike Price would work for the station for over 46 years and retired in 2008. After retiring, the station named a studio after him and hung a plaque for all future news anchors to see. Mark Price will always be our number one, let me try to get it, our number one bloody buddy, Baron Daemon. It is my honor and privilege to induct Baron Daemon, aka Mark Price, into the official Horror Host Hall of Fame.
Hi.
All right, our next inductee is long overdue. Wisconsin's own Dr. Destruction.
Well, good evening, ghoulies. We've got a great treat on this very special segment I'm calling In Search of Toulouse. Yes, I am talking about Toulouse, Nonette from Milwaukee, the fabulous 1980s horror host that was on Shock Theater during the day. And, well, we wouldn't tease you with all that without some clips of Toulouse, Nonette, as well as a little bit of Milwaukee horror host history, and that would be starting from Cadaverino, Dr. Cadaverino, of course, and then later Toulouse. Well, interesting thing about this special segment of Where Toulouse? We need you back. The press is looking for you. Movie makers are looking for you. Toulouse, Nonette, we need you to return.
Listen closely to my instruction and heed the induction of Dr. Destruction. Hello there, it's your old fiend, Penny Dreadful, and I am honored and horrified to induct the one and only Dr. Destruction into the Horror Host Hall of Fame, a long overdue induction, I might add. Dr. Destruction has been at this for quite a long time. He's been scaring people for over 30 years. He got started over at Jerry Smith's Pumpkin Farm, doing his haunted attraction, the Haunted Forest, the Haunted Manor, all kinds of cool stuff. And then Crimson Theater came along, and that I think was in the early 2000s, maybe 2000, 2001. So Dr. Destruction has been a horror host for a very long time, and a very talented one, I might add. A wonderful show. The theme song is still stuck in my head, Dr. Destruction. What do I have to do to get you to break this curse? Anyway, I'm really happy for you, Dr. Destruction. Not only are you a sensational horror host, but you are an artist, a musician, punk rock musician after my own black heart. But you, my friend, are a man of many talents. I have my Dark Shadows background here because I know we're both Dark Shadows fans. I remember back in, I think it was 2012, on Terror from Beyond the Days, they asked us both to participate in an interview about Dark Shadows. A long overdue induction, and I'm very happy to see you inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. The Hemlock Brews in the back. Let's go have some, eh?
Accepting on behalf of Dr. Destruction.
Well, hello, and thank you to everybody at the Horror Host Hall of Fame at Horror Hound. Well, I'd really love to be there with you, but that's just not possible. It's Halloween crunch time for this doctor, as I got to get ready for the Haunted Manor. We open in September. And I bit off a big chunk to chew this year with the Haunted Manor, probably bigger than it's ever been. So that's going on, and that prevents me from traveling. Thank you, Penny Dreadful, for the wonderful, wonderful induction. I'm very happy that you did it. I just love the fact that all of you are still going out there, all the hosts and the Hall of Fame. It's a great thing. So many to be inspired by, so many in the past that I was inspired by as well. And it's really a great thing that this is continuing. I want to, congratulate all the inductees this year that got nominated and voted for. That's really fantastic. Nominations, isn't it? Anyway, I hope you're all having a blast down there. I definitely wish I was there. And once again, I want to thank you so much for inducting me into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. And if you're anywhere near Kenosha, Wisconsin, by the way, would be, check out my Haunted Manor in October. I hope to see you all again at least one more time in a lifetime. And at 620, I don't know how long I got. All right, enjoy yourselves, people.
All right, our next induction is another Indiana horror host, Selwyn.
I had to trade these in on a new set.
Another popular Wish personality then was Selwyn, a movie host who first appeared on a Fright Night show.
Friday night is Fright Night on Channel 8.
And inducting Selwyn is Gruesome Graves. I have no fleas. Renfield ate all the fleas off of me last year.
Hello, Horror Hound. For those of you who don't know me, I am Gruesome Graves, and I am the proprietor and owner of the Haunted Hotel in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And today I am here with my extreme pleasure to introduce Indiana's first horror host, Selwyn of Fright Night. In 1958, at WISH-TV8, Dave Smith, who was the program manager, came up with the idea and concept for Selwyn. And he asked Ray Spanberg Jr. if he would portray him, because he said he had a maniacal laugh. Ray put on a black cape, a black brimmed hat, upturned eyebrows, and ghoulish makeup, and soon became one of the most popular shows on WISH. In 1961, his format changed and he was moved to Saturday afternoons on Jungle Tales, where he became Jungle Selwyn, showing Tarzan and Bamba the Jungle Boy films, along with his Sel Winchester. He took off his cape and hat and put on a pith helmet, but kept his ghoulish makeup. He also had a co-host of sorts, a creepy Vine, who was an assistant who had vine-covered arms just off camera. He ran a contest to name the character, offering a transistor radio as first prize. 2 weeks later, the contest was over, and the winner was Handy Divine. This show also proved popular, but many fans wrote in asking for someone to return to his roots. And in April of 1961, he returned to Fright Night, this time as Astronaut Selwyn, showing science fiction and Japanese kaiju films. Until late 1963, when Channel 8 finally put Selwyn to rest. He then left Indiana and went to Atlanta, where a local television station selling advertising. He did that for many years, retiring to gardening, which was one of his favorite things to do, and passed away peacefully in 2001. So it is my honor and great privilege to induct into the Horror Host Hall of Fame 2023 Selwyn of Fright Night. And as his tagline goes, good night, whoever you are. Thank you.
For our final induction, I don't really think they need this, but yeah, let's go. The dynamic duo, the mummy and the monkey.
Hey, Groovy Ghoulies, I'm Janet Decay, your yummy mummy.
And I'm Rick Gordon, the funky monkey. And together we are
The Mummy and Monkey's Very Scary House.
Our horror hosted show has it all.
Skip, dip, and a scary? Maybe.
And we are here with a television legend. Yes, it's the one, the only, Marty Sullivan, also known as Super Holmes. Hey, is there anything that people don't ask you or
Oh, wow, I don't know. That's a good question.
We completely missed my murder spree. I don't know why that.
Hi, this is Big Chuck.
Yeah.
We always watch the Mummy and the Monkey Show.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. And accepting, I apologize. And inducting the mummy and the monkey into the Hall of Fame, my pal, Mr. Molto.
Greetings, my little hobgoblins, and welcome to Horror Hound Weekend. How's everybody doing? Good. Combine the power of the ghoul with an ape that has a serious case of flatulence. Mix in some water from a burning river. Shake it up. Pour it into a hairy scary hangout, and what do you get? I'll tell you what you get. You get two awesome horror hosts. That's right, the Mummy and the Monkey. They bring the show Hairy Scary Hangout to you guys almost every Friday for what, 209 episodes now? Okay. And not only do they bring it to you every Friday, but it's live. Quite the feat. Anybody that knows anything about doing something live, you never know what to expect, but they pull it off. Not only do they do that, but they put in little drops of sound effects to these cheesy movies that we all like and make them better. And the occasional John Saxon. And they do it with a live chat. All around an awesome show. I remember when I first met the Mummy and the Monkey, it was in a one-horse town called Delphos, Ohio. Anybody from there? Been there?
Good. Okay, been there.
Oh, well, I guess the horse didn't show up either, but, anyway, I remember getting in my car and heading out on the highway and driving and driving and driving. And finally, there it was, the sign, Delphos left. So I got off the highway and I'm going down this country road and I'm driving. And I'm driving. And so I realized that that sign back there was correct. Delphos left. They were gone. I couldn't find them. So, I took a split in the road and figured, well, I'm going to find out where I'm at and where I got to go. So I come out into this little town, and guess what? Delphos, Ohio. So I found the hotel, I checked in, and then I go up to the elevator and hit the button to go to my room, and it sounded like the haunted mansion. But I heard a distinctive voice, and that was Janet Decay. I could hear her coming down the elevator talking to James, all the way down, and I'm thinking, finally, I get to meet the Mummy and the Monkey. For that point, not a whole lot of people had seen Jonathan Blackmore. So the elevator door opened up, what the first thing she said to me was? You remember?
I don't know.
She said, "Get out of my way, creep." No, she didn't say that. No, she said, "Hey, you're wearing our t-shirt." And I was like, "Well, of course I am. I bought it off of you." So that was the first time we met. So in the morning, a handful of us hosts, we had our table set up, and, you know, we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and finally people started coming in. I must say, I've never seen that many people at a venue before. And I am being sarcastic because I've seen more people at the laundromat. But you know what? We had fun anyway. Why? We entertained each other. And that is a day that I still will always treasure. You know, I'll always cherish it. Why? Because not only are Janet and James awesome hosts, they're awesome people. And I really appreciate it. So it's from the bottom of my heart that I introduce your 2023 Horror Host Hall of Fame inductees, Janet J, James Harmon, a.k.a. Janet Decay, and Grim Gordy, the Mighty Monkey.
I'm sorry, I'm a bundle of nerves right now. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Malto. Thank you, Slash and Roxy. Thank you to Horror Hound Weekend. We're happy to be here.
Oh boy.
And it is an honor to be inducted into the 2023 Horror Host Hall of Fame.
It sure is, it sure is. And thanks again for that, Malto. It's very, very nice. But like you said, thanks, Slash, for doing all you do. But I want to do something that might be a little corny, considered a little bit silly. But I want to give thanks to, you know, the one that towers over us. Yes, the one that looks down from us from above and can smite us with a whim. I want to give thanks to the one, the mighty Godzilla. Yeah, or maybe King Kong. Or what about Rodan? You know that bird?
Grim, we're supposed to be all serious and professional here.
Yeah, I am being serious and professional, Janet. I mean, those are the monsters that were in some of the movies that inspired us to be horror hosts in the first place.
Yeah, you do have a good point there, and the movies are really good.
Right.
So, we started this journey almost 10 years ago, and here we are over 200 episodes later. And we had a lot of people that helped us along in that journey.
Yes, we don't want to forget them, and we're happy to be inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. And like I said, when they did that, there goes the neighborhood. But let's get back on track and thank some of the people that mean a lot to the show, all right?
Yes, like the horror hosts that have inspired us, that we grew up with, or that we, admire.
That's right. In Cleveland, Ohio, where we're from, we've been blessed to have been exposed to many a horror host over the last several decades. Ones that we grew up watching, specifically Houlihan and Big Chuck.
Yeah.
The Big Chuck and Little John show. You know, Ron Sweet, also known as the Ghoul.
Yeah.
Martin Sullivan, also known as Super Host. And there's ones that before him, you know, like Goulardi and other ones that weren't even from Cleveland that inspired us.
Yes, like Vampira, also known as Mylan Nerby. We didn't get to watch her growing up, but she has been a big inspiration for me because she was the first female horror host and the first horror host in general. And I am proud to be Cleveland, Ohio's very first female horror hostess.
Yes, so thanks to all of the hosts that inspired us, and we're going to move on to the next wave of things, and that would be people that are intrinsic to our show. It is a one mummy, one monkey production, pretty much, but we do have some, fans that have turned into pretty good contributors to what we do every Friday night. Stuck on me. Yeah, we're usually attached at the hip, now we're attached at the pinky.
He's extra furry. Yeah. We've got to take you to the groomer sometime. Okay. So yes, these are creative contributors who are fans and friends. So the stellar Tony Beller.
Yes.
We want to thank Bob Ferguson.
Show guru Bob Ferguson. Who else?
We want to thank Randall Lingenfelter.
Yes.
Snack Master General Greg Tominski.
He provides a lot of treats for our snack toy segment on our show.
Seth Martin, who helped with the music and the outros and stuff.
Right.
Dane Stotzer.
Yes, another creative.
Yes, Joe Francik, who does a lot of videoing. He's videoing us now.
Thanks, Joe.
And the many YouTube channel chat moderators. They help keep the chat in check so everyone can enjoy it and, So thank you to them. You guys know who you are.
And then, of course, a special, super special thanks to our mummies. Yes, that's right, Barb and Judy.
Yes, thank you to our mummies for always believing in us.
Yeah, basically, you have them to give, to blame for us being here. But thanks, mums.
And we get a lot of great feedback from our fans. We love seeing all the comments and how interactive people get with it. And that interaction is really why people watch the show. They really enjoy it. There's one comment we received lately that we want to read. Yes.
Yes, this was in response to us being inducted into the Horror Host Hall of Fame this year on one of our Facebook pages.
Yeah, and it pretty much sums up everything. So this is from Keith Buck on Facebook. From Keith Buck on Facebook. Did I say that right?
That's good.
Okay. You kids rock, the ghouls of our dreams. I had thoughts of doing what you had done. It's not easy to follow in the footsteps of what has been done and make it your own. We are proud and honored to watch your show, knowing what it means to the both of you. Congratulations on your induction. It's well deserved. Thank you for carrying on a tradition that means so much to me and all of Cleveland and the world now.
Ooh, yeah, that about says it all. Thanks, Keith, for that. And tradition is why we do this. We've been inspired, like we said, for all of our lives, as like little kids, watching this stuff. And we do consider it an art form. And most of the hosts that do this independently do everything on their own. There's no production company behind them, no television studio. It's all done out of a labor of love. For the genre, the movies, everything, and horror hosting in general. So I'm happy that this art form is being supported and, in my opinion, getting stronger. And there's one more thing I'd like to thank really quick. I'd like to thank horror hosting in general for making it possible to meet my lovely wife, because without being a horror host, I would have never met her. And it's kind of weird, that we pulled this off together, and it was fate for sure.
And I also want to thank Victoria's Secret for, keeping everything together. I guess the secret's out now.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everyone for coming out and, and being a part of this ceremony. It's very special to us, and congratulations to all the other inductees. And we have a new live show coming this Friday, and we hope to see you at the Hangout. Woo! Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mr. Moto. Thanks, everybody, for the Horror Hound Hall of Fame.
Hello. I want to thank everyone for attending. Thanks to Horror Hound once again and for allowing us to make this our home. And you can stay in touch with the Horror Host Hall of Fame via Facebook on the Facebook page. Now all the hosts come back up on stage. We'll get a group photo.
No, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, everybody. Okay, awesome.
I have my eyes closed.
I blink.
I didn't have my eyes on.
Mr. Graves always blinks.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.